Hello and welcome. 9-10 odd weeks back in India, things were normal. Business as usual. Today, lockdown for our own physical safety and survival by COVID-19. The worst disaster for life, business and enterprise in living human memory. Hello, and on behalf of the Global Consumer Customer Engagement Forum, CEF, and 24 Frames Digital, welcome to this global webinar on a very pertinent topic, COVID-19 and after customer engagement strategies. My name is Pawan R. Chawla, and I'm Vice President at Digital Services at AdFactors PR, India's biggest and most awarded PR agency with a significant presence in Sri Lanka and Singapore too. The global webinar from CEF features hope, okay? And we hope actually that this will be a thought-provoking, insightful webinar on a very pertinent topic, COVID-19 and after customer engagement strategies. I feel privileged for the opportunity to listen to and learn from a stellar gathering of 6 very respected professionals and leaders across businesses and verticals from 5 different countries today. Allow me the honor of introducing them to you. We have with us today from the UAE, Arup Basu, former head of operations at Noor Bank, UAE. Welcome, Arup. Pleasure to have you with us today.
Thank you.
From Iran, Dr. Mir Damoon Mir, popularly known as Dr. Damoon. Dr. Damoon is Chief Creative Officer, founder, Sigma 8, the creative brand consulting agency that which is the only Iranian affiliate member of 4As. Welcome, Dr. Damoon. Thank you for your time. From Sri Lanka, Nandana Vikramade, former Group Director, CBL, Strategic Advisor to and Director of multiple companies in Sri Lanka. From Brazil, Rodolfo Barreto, eminent creative leader and book author and a writer of several other very interesting things. From India, Sujan Roy, head international business, passenger vehicles, Tata Motors. And from India again, Sarup Banerjee, chief operating officer and business at Z-Live. Now this certainly is a panel discussion, but considering all the wonderful experience each one of our panelists brings from a diverse range of sectors like banking, vehicle marketing, mega live events, FMCG and business strategist and business leader mentoring, and from the space of creative and brand consulting, we've decided that each one of these panelists who brings eminent and invaluable experience and extremely rich insights will actually make their own individual presentation on the topic of COVID-19 and after. And I will, of course, give you a more detailed introduction to each eminent panelist just before they make their presentation. And after everyone has addressed this webinar, we'll open it up for questions. And we've already received several questions from the panelists, and these are by email from those who've registered earlier. So I look forward to actionable insights and more on 2 broad areas. COVID-19, the new normal that we are in under the lockdown, and what we need to do, how we need to prepare for after the lockdown opens. What India as a nation needs to do is, for one, certainly meld stronger disaster management strategies with public health measures that look at really long-term. And what do corporates, companies, brands, and agencies need to do? How has life changed for them? What are the new learnings and recently discovered redundancies? And what do they need to do to prepare themselves for the future? How much of this new normal is going to be set to become the permanent new normal? So without further ado, I'm going to invite from the UAE and tell you more about him. Arup Basu, former head of operations at Noor Bank. Arup is a senior banking professional with more than 25 years of global experience in operational excellence and transformation with several large multinational banks, including Bank of America, Citi, Barclays, and Deutsche Bank, including a brief stint with the Bank of England, which, as we know, is the UK's central bank. Arup has lived and worked in several countries, and so he brings a wealth of global experience. Countries including India, Australia, China, Singapore, Malaysia, US, Canada, the UK, most of Western Europe. And what has he delivered there? Professionally, operations strategy, transformation, large-scale migrations, automation, digital robotic solutions, green site setup, lean transformation, and cost optimization. And in his most recent assignment prior to Aspiro, he was the head of operations at Noor Bank, which is in the UAE and responsible for BAU operations and bank-wide transformation, which is what we're going to be talking about today. So Arup is an MBA from INSEAD and also has a master's degree in finance and a bachelor's in engineering. So I give you Arup Basu. The stage is yours, Arup. Please.
Thank you, Pawan, for a very kind introduction, and good morning, good evening, good afternoon to all. Thank you for joining this webinar. I don't per se have a presentation, but I want to just say a few lines in terms of what I see the current events as. Obviously, for all of us here, life has completely turned on its head in the last, for some of us 2 months, for some of us 6 weeks, for some of us 4 weeks, and it's ongoing. And the worst part of it is we do not know when the normal, or what we knew as normal, is going to even come back, whether it's going to come back or not, what it's going to look like. So I mean, what I can say is that I believe that there has been a collective permanent shift of societal attitudes. These are typically brought about by watershed events. I think the last one that I can remember is probably 9/11. 9/11 happened, and now the entire world after that was living with the excess security, the longer queues in the airports. We took that as a part of life. Similarly with COVID-19, and when somewhat normalcy does come back to play, I think the whole social distancing, the whole hygiene attitudes, stay at home attitude, work from home, etc., those are going to be a part of the new normal. I mean, of course, people would argue that human beings have very short memories, but this one is here to stay till there is a viable solution and a viable antibody to the whole thing. Yeah. The other thing, in terms of, given the theme of this webinar in terms of customer engagement, I feel companies that are displaying emotional intelligence and caring, all of us know about the typical 5 Ps of marketing, but I think emotional intelligence and caring will have a place over price, product, and promotion. That's my second point. Third, I feel that we've been all shopping online for about the last 20 years, but now suddenly that has become the preferred channel. So all companies, we need to figure out how to deliver service and product to the customer where the customer is. That is very, very important. And probably the last point I'd like to make, to just set some juices flowing, is that even when things open up, discretionary spend is going to take a hit. People are going to be very, very careful about their money, because we're really not sure how long this is going to continue, what the economic impact of the same is going to be. So a lot of the discretionary spend is going to, people are getting more and more minimalistic. So that is, I think, here to stay. So companies and products and services need to innovate to that new paradigm. Thank you, Pawan. Pawan, you're on mute.
My apologies. Thank you, Arup. Thank you for all the insights. And we will definitely take questions, as I said, later. Let's now go on in alphabetical order to Dr. Mir Damoon Mir, or Dr. Damoon, as he is fondly called by most people. He's the Chief Creative Officer, founder, Sigma 8 Iran, and it's the only Iranian affiliate member of 4As. Before I invite you to speak, Dr. Damoon, allow me to tell our viewers more about your career. Dr. Damoon is founder and Chief Creative Officer of, as I told you, the agency in Iran, and he's also, and this is the Iran-based award-winning agency, ad agency, and he's also been the jury member of the New York Awards Festival 2019, the PAS Awards 2019, New York Awards Festival 2020, FE Awards 2020. Dr. Damoon is widely known across the Middle East for his very impressive feats during his 17 years of experience as a brand strategist and consultant, and for international enterprises and brands that include the likes of Agribank, Daybank, Samsung, Panasonic, MasterCard, Mario Valentino Boulevard, La Brioche, Dubai Pearl, and several others. And under his leadership, Sigma 8 has been acknowledged as the most creative agency in Iran. This honorary acknowledgement was published by the Drum website, and his reputable contributions are known through his memberships across wonderful institutions and entities like Art Directors Club, New York, DNAD, London, AIGA, New York, SEGD, Washington, AMA, Chicago, EMAC, Brussels, PRCA, London, and IGDA, Iran. So this is a creative titan from Iran. I give you Dr. Damoon. Dr. Damoon, I think you're on mute.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
I'm really glad I'm here among you all great leaders in the region. And thank you very much, Pavan, for beautiful introduction of me. So first of all, I'm not sure if you know that Iran is one of the country which where not any lockdown happened in a country. Did you know that?
I wasn't aware.
Yeah, that's this is the fact which will differ in situation and what will happen in the town actually. In
Right.
the last 3 from the time the news of COVID-19 were everywhere on the news in Iran, and all the businesses were affected of this. Many big businesses, I mean, in different sectors, has fired many of the staff, and actually at that time, 3 months ago exactly, there was the darkest point for everybody, even for me, because we didn't have any kind of insight what will happen, what to decide, how to lead the business, and actually it was really stuck about any decision, what to take and what will happen. And the best and the worst anticipations about the situation that time was actually maybe it could not be less than 4 or 5 months in the same direction, and the worst case scenario it could be for 1 year. And you know, exactly 3 months ago we received emails from our clients which we had running campaigns, different marketing campaigns with them. We received emails to hold all the activity because none of the managers doesn't know what will happen, what to decide, which directions to take, and how to go forward. So we are an agency in Iran with about 30 people in a team, and that time for me was a disaster to take decision how to go forward with this situation. Because as you know, we are an agency, we are a service company with 33 people as a team in-house. Each one is dedicated to one project, and we are running the agency according to our income and our clients and our running projects in hand. So in that time, now why I'm telling this story to you, because our main subject here is consumer engagement. And now I want to point out that something prior to consumer engagement is, I mean, team engagement. I mean, internal staff engagement prior to customer and consumer engagement. What happened to me, and actually I talked with Pavan prior to this, and I discussed with him my nice experience, which has happened to me in these 3 last months. The 3 last months was the worst months of my whole career, I can say. But I want to tell you the most sweet story which happened to me in terms of operating the business. And that was, you know, exactly 3 months ago. It was 1 month, it was 1 month to the end of the year, to the end of the Iranian year, which we have normally 2 weeks holidays. And at that time, I was in the position to decide how we are going to do, what we are going to decide to run the agency and operate the business. The first decision coming to mind was reducing the size of the company from 33 maybe to 5, 6, or maybe less, because we don't have anything to do and we have a lot of ongoing costs. So this was the first thing coming to mind, which many managers did the same actually. Many companies in our field or in the other fields do the same. And in that time, we sat with all the team together and we talked about the situation. And I actually discussed the situation with each person of the team to know their opinion, what they think is the best to do in this situation, because we should be aware. As an organization, we are able to survive for 6 months, for 8 months without any income, because we are a mid-sized company. And I mean, in total, in the marketing field, in the advertising field, we are a big-sized company, you can say. But in that case, from 6 months to 9 months, we could survive because we could go on with no income. But what if it will take longer? It will last longer. It would last 1 year. So that was really difficult question in front of us. So with the whole team, we sat together, and it was really amazing moment for me, because I saw all the team, all the 30 member of the team, they are giving a lot of insight and a lot of nice suggestions, which I really didn't expect to hear one of those. And first of all, out of 33, 2 of us, they said they are sensitive, they have grandmas, grandpas living with them, and actually they decided to not come to work for 2-3 months to see what will happen. Of the rest, 31 member, they said they want to continue on, because actually they said this is the main thing in their life. They love what they do, and they cannot stop it even for 1 week. How to talk about 3 months is not doing anything or doing something from home, and actually it's not possible to do our services from home because it's a teamwork here. So I asked them about the suggestions. One by one, they suggest the salary increase as a support to the company, from 50% to 70%, 30%. And it was amazing. I didn't ask anybody to offer such a thing, but they said, we can minimize the salary.
Sorry to interrupt. You said salary increase. You did mean salary cuts.
Decrease, yeah, exactly.
Sorry. Go ahead, please.
Sorry. And this was something that amazed me, and it shows me a lot of support from all of the team, because it gives me much more confidence to operate the company from maybe 1 year in this case, in the worst case scenario, which there is no income in any of the companies. So it goes forward. And what we did, because 70% of the works was shut down and all stopped, we decided to focus on ourselves, because as you know, we are doing many projects each month and each week, but we do not have time to present even one of our projects, to put it on a website, to send it to an award or anything. All the team said, we will come together, we will work on the infrastructure, we will work on the existing projects together, and we will put it together as a fresh blood to the agency, and we will see what will happen. There was really amazing moment for me. And at that time, I was just thankful to everything I did by the moment. And I accepted this decision. So from 3 months ago till now, actually, we had 2 weeks of holidays. All the team was at work except 2 of them. And actually now after 3 months, what happened? All other corporates and companies, they started to be back work and continue on. And now we feel we are much more ahead. We are 3 months ahead. And the nice thing is that we expected 8-9 months with no business running. But what actually happened was, in the 3rd month, in the start of the 3rd month, businesses started doing something, because they looked at us and they saw, now this is the time to engage their own staffs in it. The engagement of the staff is the most important part of an organization, and they can go forward with that. So our first inquiries was making videos and PowerPoints and activities to get together all the staff after 2-3 months of doing nothing and being apart and working from home. And what has happened was little by little, everything get back to normal. And I mean, the real situation of COVID-19 is going worse and worse. That's right. But the important point here is, as most of you know, Iran is different than many other countries because Iran is not dependent to the global financial cycle. We don't have that much connection with the international financials. So Iran should not be affected that much, but it has been affected. Why? I believe that was because of the panic has happened to the people. And it's like the stock market. People will panic about the stock market and the stock market will go down. And this is the thing happened in the market. And actually now, you know, today is the Eid in most of the Muslim countries. Today is one of the most important Eids from yesterday and today. And Pavan, let me show you something.
Okay, go ahead.
Today and yesterday are holiday, and nobody should be at work. And but if you give me 20 seconds, I want to show you something in my office.
Please.
Sure. Give me 10 seconds, please. I'll be back. So Pawan, I just went to the office and I called all the team to be here and to show you everybody at work. Yeah, they are working. Most of them are here. And I just asked them to come join me. Yeah, please, come here.
It's wonderful. Oh, hello. Wow. Amazing. I mean, Eid Mubarak to all of you. Ramadan.
Yeah, and
oh, wow.
now in front of you, first of all, I want to say my appreciation to all my team here at work.
Wonderful.
And in the last 3 months, we were working. And you know what happened? The very important part was because 90% of our work in the last 3 months was focusing our own projects, our own agency projects, to do it in the infrastructure kind of thing, presentation kind of thing. All this team has worked maybe twice more than the normal time because it was not doing something for the client. It was doing something for ourselves. And it was a great jump for us. And actually, this is nice. We are ready to do many entries for the awards and, you know, redesign the websites, all the works, and we are much more ready. And what has happened? This united kind of thing, which happened to us after 3 months, we are all feeling much better, and we have twice more hope in the future because what we did. And now we are really happy about the decision we took that time. Maybe this doesn't work in the countries which has locked down, but in Iran there was a choice of the countries, of the managers, and of the staff. So let me thank you all, the team here.
Wonderful. I should have known from the mask you were wearing that you probably, you know, in your office or something with people. Please go ahead.
Sure. Yeah. And this was the thing I was really excited to share with you and to say this is the reality. This is right. This is a very bad situation. This is a crisis. But I can say 50% of this is in our mind. We know this is living or death scenario. This is right. Like we can go on the street and something can happen to us. But our attitude, how we are dealing with this situation, how we engage with this situation as our team, and as how we will engage our clients in that, we will affect much more than the reality of it.
Okay, so thank you very much indeed. Thank you, Dr. Damoon. Questions will come later for sure. And there will be a lot of questions, I'm sure, about how you plan to take this spirit forward and how are you preparing yourselves and how others should prepare yourselves. What has been your conversation like with your brands and the clients on how to communicate, where to be circumspect. And as Arup very, very nicely put it, care has to come before tactical product sales, which is important, of course, but it's how you approach it. So, of course, there can't be one answer to all, but thank you very much indeed. And that has been Dr. Damoon, Dr. Mir Damoon Mir from Sigma 8 in Iran. And now it gives me great pleasure to welcome Nandana Vikramage, former Group Director, CBL, Strategic Advisor, and Director of multiple companies in Sri Lanka. Nandana currently serves on the boards of Alliance Life Insurance Lanka Limited, Alliance Insurance Lanka Limited, and Prime Finance PLC. He also shoulders responsibilities as strategic advisor to many Sri Lankan corporates while continuing to contribute to CBL Group, the largest FMCG conglomerate in Sri Lanka, as a consultant, where he has made significant contributions in uplifting a range of brands to reach market leadership during his tenure of over 17 years as Group Director prior to his retirement in mid-2018. Nandana is popularly known to many in the Sri Lankan and global platforms as the practical coach, making him a truly much sought after personal development trainer, peak performance coach, and a motivational specialist. Nandana is a respected and prominent corporate figure known for his transforming touch in shaping and building brands towards achieving market dominance and very effectively developing skills of the future leader. So I give you with a lot of pleasure and pride, Nandana Vikramage. Nandana, all yours.
Thank you, Pawan. Thank you for that lovely introduction. Ayubowan to everyone, and hi. As you may be aware, Sri Lanka is a very beautiful and a small island with a population around 22 million. Sri Lanka being rated as the #1 tourist destination by the Lonely Planet, it's obvious that tourism contributes a large portion to our economy. Two other contributors to our economy are the income generated from the exports, and the other is the remittance which comes from the Sri Lankans working abroad. It's obvious that all these came to a standstill with the lockdown. I must also mention that when we went into the lockdown, we were just 1 month prior to the biggest ever season for a year, which is the Sri Lankan New Year. Almost all the companies, all the brands make the highest turnover during these 2 months, really. Most companies had manufactured the requirements for the season, for the demand. Some had even imported all the raw material for their productions, aiming at the high potential during the season. I mention these facts for you to understand the plight these companies and the brands would have gone through. I wanted to indicate the magnitude of the problem. Just because this is the given situation, do we just shut down, give in to the situation, or wait until everything comes to normal, or find the way to survive? There would have been some companies who went into a shell, and those are the companies that are in deep, deep trouble today. There were many individuals, companies, small, medium, large-scale entrepreneurs who wanted to fight the situation. They wanted to seek for opportunity within the situation. Those were the companies and brands who did not want to say no. Those companies and brands looked at the positive. They wanted to really make sure that their people are happy, their employees are safe, and also their customers are safe, happy, and also retained. Haven't given a brief to you on the country situation, right, and a little bit about the companies. Let me now dive into the topic of the day, engagement. if someone asks me what is the key asset of an organization, without any hesitation, I would say there are two. They are equal. One is the people, the employees. Two are the customers, right? So retaining the most valuable employees and the customers who are already our valuable customers and the potential customers, getting them engaged with the brand becomes very, very vital. Before the pandemic, there were many organizations who shouted, who boasted about their customer retention strategies, customer engagement policies, customer engagement strategies, and their superior technologies and tools. But how many of them actually were successful? Right now, at this current moment, what really is working are those brands that have engaged with the customers truly through understanding the real psyche of the customers and touching their hearts, and not those brands and companies who just collected loads of information from the customers and had technology behind them. It's also a fact that the companies and brands who could take fast decisions and could take fast actions were able to come out of this situation fast. They were able to grab the opportunities. They were able to innovate and keep the brands alive in the minds of the customers. After the pandemic is over, if one expects to wake up in the same world as they were in before, those brands are really dreaming. The consumers' value systems will be totally different. Their thinking patterns will be quite different. How much engagement you had during this period, how connected you were with the consumer, how close you got to their heart and captured their heart share would matter to the business and the brand's future. You would have been exposed to many brands who suddenly reacted to the situation and came up with very emotional campaigns, communications. Mind you, fake emotions are very easily noticed by the customers. They could not be fooled. They can't be fooled. The very single point that I'm trying to get across is that it's only the brands that understand the consumer psyche and the behavioral patterns of their customers and their consumers, had genuinely interaction with the customers at the time of need, are the customers as the companies who won the hearts at the right time, and they will progress in the new normal. The video that I'm trying to share with you before I end up this session is about genuinely engaging with the customers. Tourists are the customers who contribute towards our economy. As I said before, because tourists have always been with us. So they are our customers. Retaining them is all about engaging with them. This video will prove to you how Sri Lankans, the public of this country, connected with them, and how we will definitely be supported by the tourists when this whole pandemic is over. I'm sure it's going to really, tourism is going to really boost, and there'll be definite pluses, definite positives of what this interaction, what we have done for really unknowingly, maybe it's unknowing sometimes. We wouldn't have known, but the general public wouldn't have really thought that this is interaction with the customers, this is how we are doing it, there will be a benefit. No, the intentions might have not been that, but definitely customer retention would be there. So I would call for Hemant to show this video, and I'm sure this is about customer engagement and customer engagement at its peak. Hemant, I would like you to show the video.
When you shut down an entire airline, there are consequences. People get stranded and they can no longer fly home. Right now, millions of tourists are stuck in countries that are not their home countries. They find themselves alone with little money, little support, away from their family, because it's literally impossible and illegal to fly back home.
Everything that I'm reading on Twitter and Facebook is saying that the people that are following through with that are unable to get anywhere.
So what are these millions of people supposed to do? Well, this is a problem, and there is one country that is trying to fix it. It's called Sri Lanka. In a small town in Sri Lanka called Ella, 14 tourists got stuck with no money or home. They couldn't fly back, and they couldn't afford a hotel. And that's where Sri Lanka hospitality really shined. The entire city got together to help their 14 stranded tourists, to give them food, accommodation, and most importantly, give them family away from family.
This is a thank you to Sri Lanka.
And the kindness and generosity of a town called Ella.
And this isn't just 14 tourists. On the entire country level, a new program was launched called Tourism Disaster Monitoring and Hosting Program. This is meant to support every stranded tourist in the country. If you are a foreigner stuck in Sri Lanka, they will host you, give you a home, give you food and support to survive the lockdown without going bankrupt. They will be your family away from family. More people need to be aware of these programs because, you see, Sri Lanka is actually not a rich country, it's a developing one. And the truth is, 12.5% of their economy is built on tourism. Tourism used to be the lifeline of the country, and now tourism is dead and the economy is suffering. But even when tourism went down to zero, Sri Lanka continued to treat tourists with dignity and respect. During good times, they loved tourists. During bad times, they helped tourists. Right now, in many other countries, tourists cannot fly home all around the world, and many of them may not be able to afford a hotel in a lockdown. They too need to be taken care of. Let's hope that tourism comes back to life, and when it does, maybe in 1 year or 2 years, us tourists should finally pay back Sri Lanka for these acts of kindness. We should visit their country, stay in local hotels, and help their economy, because that is the best way for us to say thank you. And that is good news worthy of sharing.
So thank you, Hemant, for sharing that video. Why I wanted to share that video is just to give you an example of what is real customer engagement. So over to you, Pawan. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. That was indeed engrossing, very insightful, and full of all the wisdom that your years of experience automatically bring with them. Nandana, thank you very much indeed for your address and for taking the trouble to bring this video and play it for us. Really nice. And now we have for you a creative leader and book author from Brazil, Rodolfo Barreto. Before I invite him to speak, let me tell you about Rodolfo. He's a former creative chief officer of Tracy Locke Brazil. His career spans 23 years, and he's one of the most multidisciplinary Brazilian creatives on the market, working in offline, online, branding, live marketing, and full service models. Throughout his career, Roberto has created campaigns and projects for more than 20 brands. His work has got him 8 shortlists on Cannes and more than 30 international awards. That really is something. As a photographer, He is a collaborator of Getty Images Brazil, having been awarded 9 times as Photo of the Day in FWA Photo. As a writer, he's launched a short story book entitled Traumas and Other Things That Do Not Go Out in the Bath. And as a screenwriter, he wrote the short films Equilibre, Control P, One Last Flight, Saturnica, and A Piece of You. Among the various movie awards, he won the award for Best Screenplay at the Syria International Festival in 2011. So that is the multidimensional creative leader, writer, and book author, Rodolfo Barreto from Brazil for you. Rodolfo, all yours.
Hi, Pavan, and hi, everyone. And first of all, thank you for the invitation. I'm really honored to be here, and I hope you are all well. So, and I need to say that I'm really proud of the countries that, in a way, are managing to fight against this such a dangerous virus. And you are incredible, guys. And it's not an easy fight, as week Ramesh said. So it's really important to stay together. But on the other hand, I'm representing Brazil here, and I believe that you must be following the news in South America and mainly in my country. So before we talk about the market, I'll give a really quick overview of what is happening here. So I promise sum up it in just 60 seconds, just 1 minute. Can I do it?
Sure.
Okay. I will share screen here because I have a kind of presentation. So let's put it here. So I'll try to share screen here. Okay. That's okay for you?
Sure. Yes.
Yes. Okay. So just a minute. I'll put it here, and that's okay. So what's going on in Brazil? So 60 minutes, just really quickly. Really quickly. As you know, the numbers of infected and dead in Brazil are doubling and doubling. And I took the sprint on Saturday, and we had 341,000 cases and more than 21,000 people dead. So it's really huge. And the journalist Kelly Porterfield of Forbes wrote that why Brazil will likely become the global coronavirus hotspot, if it's not already, because he is on 22 of May. So we have the United States, Russia, and Brazil. So, and I think she will be absolutely right, because the first thing you can think of it is that the virus is spreading because of the carnival, right? Because the Brazilians are party people and they are singing and hugging on the streets, and it's not true. The reason is that while all countries are experiencing health issues and economic issues, Brazil have serious political issues. You know, the problems are the divergence between those who believe in what our president is saying, thinks, and the actions that the governors are taking, the mayors, and what the whole world is saying. The governors and the mayors are good with it. They say stay home, but the president say that you all created this virus to put me down. It's a kind of alienation. I don't know what's happening here. So while the words say stay at home, and while the governors and the mayors say stay at home, my president here is going to ride a jet ski. You know, it's look like Trump. I think that's on a weekend. Trumps go walk for a golf or something. So, and more than that, Bolsonaro fires the former justice minister, and he's firing the minister who disagree with him. We have just 2 health ministers in 1 month. No. So I wouldn't be surprised if he says that everyone should drink Clorox tomorrow. It's not to be a surprise for us. So this number is like this because there is a large of numbers of voters believe in him, and it also killing those who didn't vote for him, obviously. But I can say that we still believe in science. There's a huge part of Brazil that believes in science, and part of them, including me, is at home. So this is my 1 minute sum up. So now let's talk about how brands have changed their communication week after week. So let's begin on the market. So there is a COVID way of thinking about brands. So on the subject, I saw 3 very clear movements when you talk about mass media. So let's take the TV as an example. I'm going to play some spots here, but I'm not going to play all the video. It's just to show the mood of what's going on here. So at first, imagine that the world was crazy. It's crazy. The government's asking everyone to stay at home, and some brands saying that take your girlfriend for a walk on the beach. So it's really crazy. Let's watch it. So I will put.
Okay. I named it an outside world communication because many brands simply left their media plan on air, and it's just showed how slow they are nowadays. So believe me, this type of spot was on air not too long ago. So last week this film was on air, so it's really ridiculous. And in a second movement, everyone started with the all will be okay video mode. Obviously that talk about hope is essential, but what happened was similar communication. So take a look at this next video. I'm showing just a little bit as it's very extensive. So let's go.
When we first opened our doors.
Since 1926.
Since 1978.
For 60 years.
For 75 years. For over 80 years. In 90 years.
Over 100 years. Nationwide has been on your side.
Restaurants have always been there for you.
Nissan has been with you through thick and thin.
We will do what we've always done.
Take care of people.
We're people.
People.
People to family.
Family.
Families are families.
Even now. Especially now.
Especially now. Right now.
Now more than ever.
So, what's happening here? So, this video is on YouTube with the title "All COVID ads are the same." So, and again, it just shows that the brands were just following protocols from their PR agencies. So, it's not so good. It's a kind of we can say here in Brazil, it's a kind of pasteurization of the communication. So, for me, it's all will be okay, lot of IMSO communication. But however, and we have reached finally the third movement of communication, and brands started to say that what they are actually doing about people, and that's okay. Let's watch it. It's in Portuguese, but you are going to understand it.
Muitas empresas estão investindo em diferentes iniciativas para combater a crise na economia e na saúde. tempos de que a ArcelorMittal Brasil destinou 19 milhões de reais para o enfrentamento da pandemia do novo coronavírus. Desse total, a empresa doou.
So, it's in Portuguese, but this is the most famous TV news in the country. It's talking about brands for the first time. They had never advertised in the media that way. So that was the most important thing. People are no longer in need of randomly beautiful words. You know, we need food donations for the poorest communities, money for the hospitals, for medicines, fans, and structure. And we need facilities for payments and debits by banks, and etc. And that for me is the most meaningful communication at the moment. That the brands that people will buy and connecting into the future will be the ones that they are helping them today. So that for me it's the most important thing. And talking about the day after, and what's going to happen when the first ray of light shines and we can go back again and we can go out again. So let's talk about the Great Depression quickly. And the Great Depression of 1929 was a decline of industrial production of the United States. But there is some kind of thing that happened, that the consumption of beauty products grew. And the lipsticks increased a lot in 1929. And after it, at 2028, after another world crisis, the sales of L'Oreal increased by 5% again. So what happened in terms of economic crisis? The cosmetic sector usually grow, and this has been called a lipstick effect or lipstick index. And it happened because when you getting dressed, the individual stimulates his self-esteem in times like this. So it was invented by Leonard Lauder. So, however, now with the end of social interacting, and however, the consumers no longer see reasons for using lipstick and perfume. Here, I'm not with perfume right now, so so this crisis is really different from the others, and everyone is. We are now entering in a contactless economy. This is the expression right now. So, like the lipsticks example, we are now opening our closets at home and asking ourselves that what do I really use? We are probably not using even 10% of what we have. And also, the consumption, what will be the future of consumption? So come on, let's do a kind of exercise here. So what is our most essential clothes today? So, and maybe we are going to say that my dinosaur pajamas, they are really useful today. But okay, but the most important clothes now is the piece of cloth. Now is a mask, and the rest became just an accessory for us. So maybe what's happening now, we change the way we consume a little bit. Perhaps we will buy fewer things, but with a higher quality, so they will last longer than what we have today. And so McKinsey did a research, and these are the changes that they are expected in consumption behavior for we are calling the new normal. We'll talk about each one, but they are self-explanatory here. You have the digital, you have the safe consumption, we have the quality and the health of life. We have the new role of home here. We have the purpose, We have the in loyalty increase about brands here, and it's really good examples here. And at least what the futures hold. We're asking every time about it. We are forwarding the future, and I think that the first thing we wonder, of course, will be the cure. But there are some things that it might going to happen as fast as you can imagine. So I list some items here. So I think the first one is the increase of the clothes and gadgets production. That and kind of thing analyzes our health daily. So we have maybe the clothes, the beds, and the toilet, and etc. The increase of telemedicine. It's huge right now, and I think that's going to get bigger and bigger. And glasses of mixed reality. It's not the augmented reality, but mixed reality. And the centralization of global production. We have a lot of things in China today, but I think that's going to grow in India and African countries also, as usual. And two points here that I think that's really important, and it's not so good, but maybe we are losing in the future our privacy, and for reasons of medical monitoring. I think that's China is doing things like that, and I think that's going to spread all around the world. And I think that's we are going to losing free will maybe, and human, because we have the human desire to increase our brain cognition. We have 5G right now, so Google for Neuralink. I'm a big fan of Elon Musk, but the Neuralink maybe it's not so good for the world. So that's it. Thanks, and if you want to to join me, on LinkedIn, here's my link. You can point your cell phone here and come together. So that's it.
Thank you very, very much indeed, Rodolfo.
Okay.
That was a very interesting presentation, and I like your crystal ball gazing into the future. And now it's time to change gears to another sector, that of the business of passenger vehicles. I mean, from this wonderful creative professional, we are coming to another very creative and extremely accomplished marketer and a vertical head across a lot of functions. It's time to invite and introduce at greater length a wonderful professional from India, Sujan Roy, Head International Business, Passenger Vehicles, Tata Motors. Sujan is Head of International Business for Passenger Vehicles, and Roy has nearly 3 whole decades of auto sales, marketing, and product experience in India and abroad. He served in various senior marketing and product-related roles at Volkswagen, Honda, Mahindra, Mercedes, and Lexus. With the unprecedented pandemic, he has acquired a keen interest in emergency health equipment and is actually one of the important parts of the wonderful efforts that the Tata Group has been making to contribute to India's fight against the COVID pandemic. Sujan is part of the core team spearheading, as I was about to tell you, the Tata Group's initiatives for national self-reliance in critical medical care equipment. He was awarded the prestigious Tata Motors ACEF Award from the MD of Tata Motors. He was also chosen Marketing Professional of the Year 2018 by the Asian Consumer Engagement Forum. He's also won numerous marketing awards, including the FEs, CMO Asia, and ICMA. Sujan has represented India and Oman in international competitions for oratory. So I'm looking forward to a wonderful presentation here under the aegis of the Toastmasters International, winning podium positions on several occasions. Sujan was also chosen the Contributor of the Year by Times of Oman. And he has a keen interest in educational initiatives. Sujan takes personal interest in and is on the advisory panel of Purnima University, Jaipur, and BIMSTEC, Noida. He also chairs the Automobile Committee for the Council of EU Chambers of Commerce in India. And Sujan is a voracious reader, frequent blogger, passionate about technology, poetry, and a lover of art and music. Wow. So I give you Sujan Roy, Head International Business, Passenger Vehicles, Tata Motors. Sujan, all yours.
Thank you for that lovely introduction, Pawan. Namaste, everybody, and Eid Mubarak to all of you who are celebrating the festival today. I would build upon the things that my predecessors went through, and I asked Hemant to start with the presentation. What I'm going to discuss today is about fear. Fear in a post-COVID world. Like our Prime Minister, I have fallen into this habit, good or bad, you can tell me, of creating acronyms. And fear is an acronym which will help you remember the things that we as sales and marketing professionals should be conscious of, should be able to internalize and walk the talk. Next, please. The fear in the post-COVID world. In the next 0 to 3 months, I believe that these fear trends will be at their peak. All of us are experiencing this fear. And as we get used to this scenario, the new normal, so as to say, slowly the fear will keep on reducing, but it will never entirely go away from our minds. Beyond a year, I believe that there are going to be certain habits. 15% of the habits will still stick with us, and it will still remain with us. Next, please. The first is of the fear acronym is I'm going to talk about the multiple fears which come from F itself, the fear of. The things that we as business owners, business stewards should be conscious of. And next, please. Fear of going out. FOGO, F-O-G-O. You have heard of fear of missing out, FOMO, but this is a new fear, the fear of going out. People are currently very afraid of stepping out of doors with masks, without masks. Even those of us who are being brave and walking out, we are still conscious somewhere it is sticking in the back of our head that perhaps I'm doing something dangerous. Fear of going out. And if our businesses are to succeed, are to capitalize on the opportunities available in the period of COVID or in the period after COVID, we have to figure out how to overcome, how to address this fear of going out. If you are in a business like running a restaurant or running a cinema hall, you are in trouble because fear of going out is very real. Next, please. The second worry which really grabs people's throats and shakes them, keeps them from falling asleep at night, is fear of economic shock, F-O-E-S. So the fear of economic shock is such that even though that the economic shock has not reached my house, my salary has not been reduced, but I see my neighbor losing his job, I see another person getting his salaries cut, and I start conserving on my expenditure. It is only the absolutely necessary expenditure which is important. So tourism, and as Nandana said, Sri Lanka being a tourism dependent country, I was supposed to be in Sri Lanka right now, and I canceled my tickets. And these are some of the discretionary expenses which even after the fear goes away, it will remain, the fear of economic shock will remain. One of my competitors in America, for example, announced that you can buy a car now. If you lose your job, you can return the car to us and we will give you back whatever money we have taken, no questions asked. That is a fantastic way of going ahead and mitigating fear of economic shock. There must be certain customers who need a new car, and if they have the assurance that, God forbid, they lose their job, they can return the car and get back their money, that would be wonderful. The next one, fear of crowded areas. Agoraphobia, fear of crowded areas, is very real today. Even people like me who actually enjoy crowded places are very, very afraid of going into areas which are crowded. Try to imagine an island with 22 million people. No, friends, I'm not talking about Sri Lanka. I'm talking about a tiny island called Mumbai, which is the size of Colombo, and has the same population as Sri Lanka. Just imagine how rampantly the disease gets transmitted. You can understand the fact that Mumbai is probably the densest urban agglomeration along with Dhaka and Lagos, to understand that social distancing, the moment you step out of your house, is not possible. Therefore, fear of crowded areas is very real. If you are a business owner in a dense urban area where social distancing is difficult, you have to realign your business, every process to be realigned so that the fear of crowded areas can be addressed. Next one. Fear of touching the unknown. The fear of touching the unknown, the very fact that touching is a fear. And I experienced this having traveled to Africa in the time of Ebola. I look after international sales and my work takes me all over the world. And I was in Africa during Ebola, and I had already fallen into the habit of opening doors with my feet, using my feet to open the doors, waiting until a door is opened by somebody, sticking my foot there and opening it. Fear of touching the unknown is a very real fear. And you will find that many of our customers are going to be very conscious of this. This fear is going to remain for a long time. What are you and your business processes saying about addressing this fear? Today, each and every touch point has become a war zone for us, for customer experience. And we have to be very careful of ensuring that we address this customer fear so that the customer is reassured that he knows that adequate care has been taken in terms of the areas where he has to touch the product actually physically. Next, please. Empathy. In the way of the acronym, empathy comes second. But I would say, as many of my predecessors said, empathy comes first. We should know it. In Tata Group, we are actually, all our businesses are majorly owned by the Tata Charities. A majority of our profits goes into charities. The moment the pandemic happened, all our hotels got reconfigured as overnight stay for the COVID warriors, the hospital doctors, the municipality workers, the nurses, the policemen. All our luxury properties became available to the doctors, nurses, and the hotel restaurants started preparing packed meals for those who were working day in and day out in the hospitals, on the streets, taking care of the things that cannot be avoided during Corona. Our restaurants are still providing ready-cooked meals, packed meals to all the Corona warriors. And last but not the least, the group together put together a kitty, a war chest, so as to say, to help in case of Corona of 1,500 crore Indian rupees, which is roughly $200 billion US. And that's not all. We have reconfigured our factories, our processes to take care of all these fears that are there. And our factories are partially open right now. And guess what they are manufacturing? We are manufacturing only ambulances right now. And we are working on medical devices, emergency medical devices, which are not available easily in India. And when it comes to empathy, here is a commercial which was made for Ramadan by some of my colleagues, which talks about empathy. Hemant, can you play the ad?
जज्बा नेकी को चली मेरी दो पहिया ईद में मिलेगी इतनी दुआ जब निकल पड़ी मेरी दो पहिया नेकी नूर
हमेशा मास्क पहनते हो ना?
हर समय पहनता हूँ, आप फिक्र ना करें।
आदिल बेटा, अब्बू का फोन है, जल्दी आ।
आया अम्मी।
आदिल, क्या कर रहे थे आप?
मैं आपकी तरह लोगों का बोझ हल्का कर रहा था।
मतलब?
जहाँ कोई नहीं जाता, आप वहाँ जरूरी सामान लेके जाते हो। इसलिए इस रमजान मैंने सोचा कि मैं भी जो लोग कहीं बाहर ना जा पाए, उनका सामान उनके घर पहुँचा के उनका बोझ हल्का कर दूं।
बहुत खूब आदिल, बहुत खूब। चाहिए, बहुत काम होगा ना?
नेकी नूर अब्बू की चिपहिया करेगी गुरूर। नेकी नूर अब्बू की चिपहिया करेगी गुरूर।
Hemant, presentation, please. So we have been observing that
I need to buy a gift for my mom tomorrow. Yeah, let's buy.
Hemant, I think, yeah, the video is playing in the background. So we've already started realigning ourselves to the new requirements of the market. We've seen, for example, in China, during the course of COVID, obviously, automotive sales plummeted to nearly zero, which is what we are seeing in India right now. But what happened immediately after the lockdown was opened is passenger vehicle sales actually went up 66% because people who could afford to stretch and buy cars were avoiding public transport. The fear of crowded areas and fear of touching the unknown clearly at play. And that is what we are working on right now. The next E that we are talking about is environment. Some of you, those of you who are in India, would have found that this particular piece of news, a town which is very far away from the Himalayas, suddenly after 60 years started seeing the Himalayas thanks to the fact that pollution had disappeared. The subcontinent is normally a dusty place, more dustier than most other places that I've visited. But it is the human generated pollution which is become a pall on the air. We have some of the worst air quality anywhere in the world on the Indian subcontinent. And people during the lockdown, one of the good things that they have realized is with no business activity, with no cars, no planes, nothing, no factories, the air is suddenly crystal clear. The water is clean. I've lived in this location for 40 years and I've never seen wild animals. I've seen monkeys jumping around in my society, in the place that I live, in the heart of Mumbai. And there are going to be a lot of people who are going to say, wait a minute, I think this is worth preserving. Let us keep this, let's do our little bit to keep the environment clean. It really feels great when the air is clear and the mountains, the Himalayas, are visible from hundreds of kilometers away. And I believe that this will bring about a definite change in the habits of many people out of a change of heart, not necessarily economic reasons. Next, please. The A stands for acceleration of digital trends. We've already seen that purchases have moved online. We have seen that a lot of processes are being mechanized. Here you can see a burger making robot. But we are going to see that these digital trends are going to get accelerated tremendously. Usually in India, there are certain things which are impulse purchases, a bar of chocolate. Sometimes you run out of salt. You want to buy a loaf of bread. These are the things that you would run to the corner shop. You would normally not order this online. What has happened is a few days ago, one of the online grocery stores called Big Basket installed an automated vending machine in my society. which requires no physical interface. It does not require a person to be present. You just need the app and you pay online, and the interface, the panel opens up and you can pick up a bread or a can of milk or a carton of milk or whatever, chocolate and ice cream, what have you. And this happening, it would have happened anyway, 6 months down the line, a year down the line. The fact that all the nearby shops around the corner are closed has meant that many of the digital trends that we have been seeing have got accelerated. Unfortunately, the flip side is this will also mean that many of the lowest, the bottom of the pyramid workers will lose their jobs. Unskilled jobs, jobs which are manual in labor, will get automated, and we will have to think as a society how to accommodate these people. The next one. The rise of self-sufficiency. For many weeks here in Mumbai, we were no longer able to get fresh bread. And that is when many of the people started baking their own bread. What you see in the picture is what we call a pav. The Portuguese brought it to Mumbai, and we still bake this bread called the pav. And most of us started baking our own bread at home. And we found that it tastes far better than what we buy from the stores. And that is what is the rise of self-sufficiency. People have experienced homemade bread, the smell of bread in every room of the house. After that, you can't go back to store-bought bread. Maybe for convenience, but many of us will bake our own cookies, do our own things ourselves. The rise of self-sufficiency, which again will have tremendous implications on the market, on the way things are bought and sold. And finally, the last R is the rise of return to roots. Many of the people who had pieces of land on the outskirts just decided to leave this city, this crowded city, and go back to their little village-like houses and live there. They grow their own fruits. It's a very fertile land, and they grow their own vegetables. And sufficient number of peoples will go back. I expect that from the top of the strata, the rich people who have these little pieces of land outside the big cities, and from the bottom of the strata, all the migrant workers who have gone back, if you hear them, many of them are saying that we will be content with what we have in our villages. We'll grow our own food. We will not go to die in the cities. The plight of the migrants has been one of the great tragedies of COVID-19 in India. And I believe that this will lead to the return to the roots movement, which we are going to see in the months to come. These are some of the key trends which have been driving the behavior of the client, the customer, the consumer, and that is what will require us to shape and change our processes, change our thinking, and realign our way of doing businesses going forward. That's all from my side. One final slide, which again, yeah. Yeah, the final slide. Yeah, that's my contact in case you need to get in touch with me.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you ever so much, Sujan. That was really very interesting and extremely insightful and pretty clever too. You know, FAIR, the acronyms, and the really logical sequence with which they sort of grew. And I'm sure that this really is a work in progress for industry and brands and enterprise alike. This entire growth and this evolution that we are talking about. Really interesting. We have some questions for you and other panelists already in, but we'll take them all later for after our next panelist, who's a stellar young veteran from the space of live events. A subsector one would imagine has been crushed by the lockdown. It's time to invite and tell you more about Swaroop Banerjee, COO and Business Head Zee Live. Swaroop comes with enormous experience in creating and establishing integrated revenue models in live entertainment in various genres of music, sports, comedy, lifestyle, and culture. He's been very closely, he's worked very closely with teams in over 7 nations, more than 7 countries, to constantly innovate the evolving culture dynamics in revenue generation platforms within the media and entertainment industry. Over the years, Swaroop has conceptualized and developed more than 15 business models with live original content and IPs at the core of the businesses at MTV Asia, Star World, and Star Movies, Viacom 18, INS, and the Lakshya Media Group. Some of these include Earth, a culture fest. This was from the Z Group, really a great one. Supermoon, VH1 Supersonic, Bollywood Music Project, Windmill Festival, Pulsar Festival of Light. It's a very long list. Swaroop, I have to cut it down. He's worked with international talent for arena-size entertainment events in Amsterdam, Dubai, Singapore, and Australia. He's also a writer and guest columnist and blogger and writes expert knowledge pieces for several trade publications. Without further ado, our last speaker for the evening, I give you, and that was only because it's in alphabetical order, Swaroop Banerjee, COO and business head, Z Live. All yours, Swaroop.
Thank you, Pawan. Thank you, everyone. It's amazing, and it's quite overwhelming to speak after a banker, a creative strategist in Iran, an author who hates his president, but I love the freedom of speech on this one. But some amazing insights by Rodolfo there, especially the ones which I caught, which was the devaluation of metropolises, and I think that is one of the largest takes that I'm going to do for him. I think Sujan added to that, and obviously Sujan's great, and Nandana, that was a very moving one. Thank you, everyone, and it's great, you know, when you're right at the end, you get a bit of everyone's knowledge, and it's amazing. I'll just quickly, before I start, a very quick 5-slider. I know the audiences have been waiting to throw in their questions from a while, so I'll keep it crisp. I represent the live entertainment scenario in media and entertainment, and you know, it was one of those places, whether you call it sports or you call it a fashion show or the Grand Prix, choose what you may. I've built a bunch of music festivals across the globe. It used to be the most happy place to be. You would hug your person who's sitting next when Ronaldo hit that goal, or you would start crying and 5 people would start hugging each other when your favorite concert song got played. And today it's being called the business of mass gatherings. So how does this very, very large, and I'll show in the numbers as well a little later, come to a size like this? So I'm going to break this down into 3 parts, because I'm guessing a lot of people out there who want to know about this. There is what happened pre-COVID, how we halted, a midterm, and then let's talk about what may or may not happen in the various countries and that are going to act in this manner. The midterm for us is the most important thing. We've seen the size of what happened, let's say when South by Southwest got cancelled. The Olympics was the last to kind of postpone. I know the Bundesliga is on without spectators right now. I know that the IPL is going to probably, in India, the cricket season is going to be without spectators. I was speaking to the Shanghai Disneyland when they kind of opened up to about 80,000 people and got sold in under 3.5 minutes at a third of their capacity. And I know because we're investing a very, very large amount on a hopeful future. So it's the midterm is, I wouldn't like to call it very, very great. But in live entertainment, there are about 4 or 5 aspects. Sports is one, the fashion side is one, the music side is one, comic is one, and then the size of the sheer problem, which is you have to be next to each other looking at a stage, or sit next to each other looking at that sport, or be next to each other in a bar and look at that comic performance happening, and how does that affect? So very quickly on how real the numbers are of it affecting. Those of you in the industry or that have heard, there are a very few very, very large public listed companies across the world. Live Nation is one of them that has, as large a valuation as some of the tech players today. It's dropped down to about 78%. The businesses in India in the last 2.5 months have from, and this is roughly, and I'll give you both the numbers. It's a 15,000 to about 18,000 crore market, we roughly on our own, we were to invest about 2 billion rupees as of last year for the next 3.5 years in this particular field. The CAGR has been on an average between 15 and 19% from the last 4 years. I mean, you can imagine that it took a decade and a half to get to about 9,000 odd crores, and from about 9,500 crores to about 15,000 crores, it only took 4 years. And now what it looked like at December 2019, and let's agree, I mean, COVID, yes, but 2019 wasn't a very, very out of the world year for business on most entertainment platforms, but the jump was severe. The fall, therefore, is even harder. And therefore the coming back of it. Like a lot of us presented some scenarios. I'm going to quickly touch upon those 5 slides and then culminate, and then we can take in the questions. Hemant, if I can request you to please play the first slide.
Can you see the slide?
Hemant, if I can, yeah, but this is the speaker slide. If I could go
Is
to
the slide visible?
Hemant, if it's taking a bit long, I can, all right, oh, there we go, thank you. So this is what it looks like, the size of the growth of the industry, the current statistics. Sorry, it went out. I was, sorry, Hemant, I can't see the slide. I can see Pawan's slide. Yeah, thank you. What I was saying earlier is the size of the industry, the growth of everything that was, I mean, and I think when I keep talking about this, for those of you not close or adept with the industry, think weddings, think sports, think music festivals, think corporate launches, think everything that is physical and out there that requires a very, very large number of people in order to succeed and is usually celebratory. The current stats of the live entertainment industry, this is from an India point of view, I will give you some global examples. The new normal, what will change forever or what has changed forever, the industry and the consumer side, and then are we future ready or not? In all of this, however, I will try and keep consumer engagement as the topmost point over here, because it's amazing how customers have engaged or have caught on to us and to this one point of Nandana that it happens to be two of the strongest things that has happened in the last 2 months. People have not spent money, but people have steadfast and people have connected with a lot of brands that could show some very heart-touching feed like what Sujan showed us. Can I step to the next slide? So now what you see is in terms of what has happened, right? You can see Coachella, for example, for a lot of people who know about music festivals, is the size of South by Southwest or Tomorrowland, or a bunch of other music festivals over there. All of these festivals announced from March all the way to October that was happening. All of them have moved on from October to whenever it is that they can. A rise in niche entertainment have happened. You see what technology has done, and the value of growth in all of this, because of the pandemic, has come down roughly by about 78 to 79%. Now, if I can go to the next slide. So it's quite on a standstill, and I just want to bring everyone up to speed with the size, the sheer size of what has happened. It's $1 billion in play over here. Every form of Grand Prix, every form of sport, in every genre of sport, every form of live entertainment, in every genre of live entertainment is quite a lot of market dollar that has been in a complete halt. Some of the local examples that we've seen is roughly under 1,000 events in India got stopped. All of us have read in our individual countries what has moved, what has not. The Olympics is looking at 2021. A lot of people went online. And here is what's very, very interesting. While it came down by 78%, my OTT subscriptions or the digital subscriptions and on a bunch channels went up by 46%. And therefore, everything that moved from live to virtual started adapting. And here is where I will talk about the midterm. Can I get the next slide? So give me a bit on this particular slide, and you can see the European cities, Shanghai very recently with Disneyland, and the possible positives and how far it is. And like Sujan was showing, that in the 0 to 3 months after the scare of what the scare is and how the scare is going down, we have our own analysis of how this is happening. And this is after speaking to everybody from the Coca-Cola Arena to Riyadh, to the Ajax stadiums, to the Dome in London, and a lot of venues all over the world. Australia, we work very, very close with. Now, what has happened is that over 1,000 to 4,000 events between corporates, and you can't get married virtually, though a lot of that is already happening as well. And you can sign it legally now, even virtually. You literally don't need to be with each other, and depends on who's reading the vows to you. But what's very, very interesting is that everything that moved online engaged the customer. Whether it was Chris Martin that performed, whether it was Lady Gaga, whether it was some of our very own Bollywood superstars that engage with audiences. The social currency of a celebrity influencer coupled with a brand at this point of time took a very, very, very high spike. We've personally delivered over 16 different campaigns in the last 2.5 months. I won't lie to you, nowhere was it close to usually the campaigns that we deliver in size, but in terms of their ability to engage their audiences, because everyone's stuck at home, the influencers delivering the piece from home, and all the events turned virtual. So people were performing virtually, people were doing poetry virtually, world over artists went on virtually. Most of them, and this is a very good fundamental change that happened over here on the empathy side of things, is maximum people went and did stuff for aid, for COVID aid. Everyone was from Global Citizen all over the world to Facebook in India. The largest concerts, the largest virtual events happened for aid, and the empathy kind of took over. So coming back to the possible positives, the drive-ins that you see, the Disneyland bit that I said, every country that is opening up, places like Iran and the US and a bunch of other places that didn't shut down at all, but are opening up very, very slowly. We see this from, let's say, August to about October, we will see this gradual opening happen. And this is for, depending on a super green zone that your country is, a green zone that your country is, how we've classified it is in 3 or 4 color brackets of how drastic the situation is in that particular country. But in the countries that are not so drastic, the green zones or business will move to those states. So for example, in India, we're already looking at Goa, at Assam, at Kerala, at a lot of these places where we're saying, hey, it's not, and here is where the metropolis is being devalued in its entirety. We're moving some of the largest arena size shows, some of the largest sports over to cities that are, from our perspective or the business perspective or the consumer safety perspective, less dangerous. And that is where you will see these shifts happening. Can I have the next slide? Hemant, if I can have the next slide, please. Okay, so this is what I was talking about in terms of brands. I don't know about. I'm reading mostly about Australia, and I'm married to an Australian, so I have to read a lot of what's happening in Australia, and a bunch of places that we do business with. But the 33% norm, or the 1/3 norm of places that are to be open, 5 shops every 6 shop in a particular mall, or some of the green states that are coming in. Those are the new normal that you will see. Audiences, however, want to come out. We have 6 different studies going out for India, for the Middle East as well, that audiences want to come out. They want to be safe. If I do drive-in movies and drive-in concerts today, 67% of the audiences will want to come with 2 or 3 people in a car and say, okay, I'm safe in my car, but I want to watch my favorite performance, contactless Swiggy or Zomato, or deliveries at your place that you make. The increase in the brand spend in the last 60 days, and there are a few brand people here, Sujan being one of them, our data on FMCG, our data on essentials, and everything that was a part of this lockdown package, we saw a very, very heightened scale increase. Using live entertainment influencers like athletes that had never come. I mean, you would never think that a footballer is going to come and sell sugar, but hey, he's got nothing better to do. And he's a great influencer, and he's like, I'll make some money. I don't have a pay for and Rodolfo, Indian footballers are not as rich as some of the footballers of your country. But so, you saw athletes come in and do their bit, influencers come in, singers come in and do their bit, and brands latched on in them. This 60-day period is going to extend to about 180 days because of the size of the consumption that happened. The super green zones are going to take about more than 42% of the business. That is getting very, very serious, and the governments are working. And the final side of this, if I can have the next slide, Heyman, is how ready are we? And someone talked about Ebola. We saw 2008 and the crash, the economic crash that happened, and the pandemic is nowhere close to, and even as Arup mentioned, it's probably that serious. It's probably 9/11 serious. It's changed perspective. And we learn to live with it in perpetuity. So yes, there is enhanced security. Just after what happened at 9/11 or what happened here in Mumbai, we got used to a lot of new normals. The live industry across the world will be used to this normal for about and live with it, where the sanitization budgets, the safety budgets, the fumigation budgets, and I'm talking arenas that take 120,000 people. That usually were between a stadium and give you what may. The SOPs are going to make the average product 40% expensive. The social distancing norms are going to bring down revenues because of 1/3 ticketing per venue, and therefore this is going to take a lot of pressure, build a lot of pressure on your bottom lines. This, however, we see being changed or complemented in the next set of time. So from here to say about December, we're very clear that business on the live side will be tight. Jobs, and for anyone who's looking at employment or any of those questions that are around, I get a lot of those questions that is it the right time to Sujan's last point, which was the labor being affected. That's a very, very large point. And like the Tatas, the Z Media Group has a very, very large war chest that was developed. And depending on whether we're working with migrant laborers on the shoot side of things, because we are a broadcast-based platform, or the event side of workers and the war chest that was developed for them. But what you will see is that the blue-collar job across the live scheme of things be slightly tighter than what it was. And it'll be a little difficult because more and more shows will say we have to cut somewhere in order to be able to sustain. Those blue-collar jobs, however, can transform into a bunch of other jobs. The talent side, and I think Karthik Aaryan, who's a very big celebrity here in India, said, finally, he was a A-list Bollywood actor saying, hey, it's time for a pay cut. And Shah Rukh Khan said it. and a bunch of others are saying it. If we charge about $100 for a film yesterday, you know what? We're ready to talk to you at $50. We're ready to talk to you about $65. So overall, I think the entertainment industry has agreed that there is a problem, has agreed that there is a midterm to this problem, and has agreed that when life changes, any of these norms that you see are going to be for a very long period of time, and you will see a very, very different. Full house and box office full houses that you see outside are going to mean very different. It'll mean that out of 1,000 seats, you've got 400 full and the theater's no longer taking any more. That's kind of the gist. I think I have one last slide, Himan. No, I think this is the last slide because I removed the video. Can you just help me check?
This is the last one, sir.
Thank you, Hemant. So just to wrap it up, Pawan, and hand it back over to you from a live industry perspective. We're believing in the midterm. It's a business of people being physically close to each other. I'm talking about close to about $10.5 billion of the live stream business kicking in on the live scenario, whether it is Coachella, whether it is the Olympics, whether it is now what you see of the IPL at Hotstar. All of this is going to turn online. What is going to be offline is going to happen a little later in the day. So anyone who's planning in this period of time should be aware of these things. And in the organized sector, we're one of the few that's actually helping chart course for the particular field. And with sports and live entertainment being very close together, it's not wait and watch. It is accept the midterm. With this midterm, do what you can on the virtual side of things. Plan for the 2021, let's say fall or autumn, and build your products accordingly there.
Wonderful. Thank you ever so much, Farouk. That was really insightful, detailed. You worked out on it, and there was so much to really understand and get a grip on the business of how the business of live events is actually swiftly moving to the vertical space. Our webinar here is an example of that too. And in fact, Swaroop, we only have about maybe 4 or 5 questions because time is running out. But I do promise everybody, whoever sent in questions, and we've received a lot of them, that we will ensure that we request the experts here to give us answers that we can share with you over the email. But one quick point I wanted to, when you mentioned, Swaroop, in the conclusion, that a lot of stuff is absolutely going to move online. I mean, look at the forthcoming premiere of Gulabo Sitabo. It's a top Hindi movie, and it's going to be coming on Amazon Prime Video.
Just on this note, Pawan, one last thing, so that everyone gets the size. Super M, which is one of the Korean bands, did a concert about 15 days back, or 20 days back, and Naver put it up. They charged $26 per person, and they sold 70,000 tickets. That's about $2 million. And Forbes and the whole world carried that article. Is people are ready to pay per view a $30 value to about 70,000, 80,000 tickets for a 2-hour concert if they love the band and they know that, hey, they're not going to go out and get it. So, and a $30 is an entry size ticket into any arena. I mean, you can go to a Lady Gaga show in Europe. It's about 40 euros to about 120 euros, and then upwards of there. So yes, it is. People are paying, people are open, and things are going to move online.
Absolutely. Having said that, today, Salish Kapoor's Ormax Media released research, which has just come in, which says that 82% of Indians under lockdown who were surveyed by Ormax Media are sorely missing the experience of big screen entertainment in theaters. So, it's going to be a mixed bag. I don't think we need to actually, I wouldn't. But yes, what we've seen, I wouldn't, jump to one conclusion. But having seen the manner in which OTT and video streaming have actually started seizing the imagination, Balaji registered massive growth. Z5 is doing brilliantly well, as is Hotstar. So, there's enough for everybody, frankly. And let's quickly go now to the questions and the answers which we will get from our experts. Let me see. I have here a question which is for, I think I'll request Roberto to take this one. This is from Sri Lanka, Rolinka Pereira, who's a singer in Sri Lanka. okay, he has said, how can customer interaction be made effective while social distancing? Perhaps I think it's about what mediums to use and what kind of content and approach. Robert, do you want to take this?
Oh, you mean Rodolfo?
Oh, sorry, Rodolfo. Oh, my apologies. Rodolfo, my sincere apologies. Rodolfo, would you like to take this one?
Oh, okay, this how the singer is going to to engage with people. Here in Brazil, there's a nice thing that the people are hiring musicians to play music to people who is on birthday, for example, or to homage someone. So they go outside the buildings on the street. They hire the people there and start to singing. And just for 1 hour or 2 hours, they hire the musician. So everybody is watching the play in the balconies and making people make some kind of a good example of it. And the other one is we are talking about lives every day. So the lives are getting crazy, you know, there's a lot of them. They're the musicians, they're the entertainment people. And I think that for musicians are really good because people are not going maybe and pay $100 for a show, but they can pay $1 for a live. So you have the 10-cent way of thinking. We have to spread the audience for the world. So you can do it a really good music, and people could pay $1 for it, watch it live. So maybe it's a good example.
Right, and in fact, we just got the answer also from Swaroop some time back, you know, towards the end when you spoke about how these events are also going virtual, and this was from a singer. So I'm sure he got a second answer too. All right, so the next one I will put to Arup. This is from the city of Kochi in India, Dominic Savio, who's with BuzzStop Integrated Communications Private Limited. He wrote into us saying, how will COVID-19 redefine the communications business? It's a bit of an open-ended question, but how will it redefine the communications business? Arup, you made a very good point about emotional intelligence and caring taking precedence over the 4 Ps. Would you like to take this?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Dominic. That's a very good question, actually. All of us who are working and who have been working for the past, over the last 6 weeks, would have used communication tools that we've never used before. I mean, you know, this thing is happening on Zoom. We are having virtual drinks and social meets on Zoom. Majority of the organizations are working on either Microsoft Teams or Zoom or Google Hangout or any one of these kind of tools. So obviously a lot of emphasis is going to be on online communication with video because it becomes a little more interactive. Second, I feel like broadband and 5G are going to become the new essentials because there is a massive, massive demand on increased bandwidth and speed, because none of these channels work properly without a good internet setup. Thirdly, I mean, a bit to the previous question. I mean, you know, how do you drive customer engagement when you're practicing social distance? I think one of the ways to do it is, like, for example, if I was American Express and I have a platinum charge card customer, maybe that person gets, you know, a concierge service. Maybe that could be done on video, for example, instead of doing a plain voice contact center. Yeah. And so I really see, plus there's of course social media. I mean, a lot of banks, I mean, I can speak for banks myself. A lot of banks are spending a lot of time in trawling social media so that we can understand what our customers are feeling, what our customers are thinking, what our customers want. Essentially to rely upon analytics and AI to be able to deliver a marketplace of one. So what I mean by that is, let's say, Pawan, I get to know through your social media that, it's your wife's birthday. A week later, I push through a message through my banking app or otherwise to you saying that, okay, hi, I know it's your wife's birthday. Would you like to help me with your shopping, and push some specific promotions to you for that occasion? Yeah. So I there are various innovative ways we can reach out to our customers way better than we are doing today. And it's a bit of watch the space, but here's what I've experienced myself, and some of it I've tried to drive myself. I hope that answers your question, Dominic.
I'm sure it has. He's live with us now, but I got this on the email. But thank you very much, Arup. I'm sure you answered this question. Here's a question from Sri Lanka, from Sharon De Silva, with the National Development Bank PLC. The question is, how should companies manage their sustainability projects post-COVID? Nandana, would you like to take this one?
Okay. Am I okay? Right.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. See, when it comes to sustainability, what I personally think is that sustainability will be within the organizations, within their businesses, right? Now, unlike earlier, soon after the COVID, I personally feel that sustainability projects as such, right, will also continue, but the entire organization will be more moving towards sustainability, because they would really understand, they would really want all their employees. There wouldn't be a division. We wouldn't need a division for sustainability. It would be everyone's part. I would say that everyone would have to contribute towards sustainability. So sustainability projects per se will also continue, but the entire organization or entire employees of the organization will join in for that.
Thank you, Nandana. Here's a question from Suryabir Singh. This will have to be our last one today. He's from Gurugram. He's writing from Cvent. And the question is how to pivot, I'm reading it verbatim, how to pivot from in-person events. And I can only think of one person here to take this question right now. Is Swaroop. Swaroop, do you want to take this maybe?
Sorry, I hope you can hear me now. How to pivot from in-person events. I'm just going to read it as how to pivot from in-person events to more virtual events. Or it's the best opportunity. If you see what's happening on some of the largest platforms, look at Book My Show, where about 67-68% of the country's events are being ticketed. Today, there are over 800 virtual events on Book My Show. There are 650 plus events on Insider from 300 rupees Indian and all the way up to, let's say, about $2,000. If you are in the corporate segment, then you best think of how you can create platforms like these, like how Pawan has created. And if they are direct to consumer or they are business to business, that's one way of doing it. If you are a consumer events person, then right now it is influencer or talent-based performances or any unique masterclass made. So there are masterclasses, there are people are doing art, people are doing and the food. The 4 top things that has come out of live to home entertainment or live to home function entertainment are food, mental health, fitness, music, and this is the functional side. Binge watching on Netflix or Z5 is not functional, so I'm not going to mention that here. But these are the 4 or 5 key things that has come out as the largest time spent for entertainment. So which is why John T. Rhodes is on Cult Fit, trying to teach you how to work out. Shilpa Shetty is on Cure Fit or something else. Every chef from Shipra Khanna to Sanjeev Kapoor is on somewhere trying to teach you how to cook. And people are paying for it either in a masterclass or because they want to, it is on an OTT. So if it is functional within these 4 or 5 genres that has maximum time spent with an average ticket size, there are sponsors that will be interested. So I think if you are a corporate event manager, then you best choose platforms that will deliver the launches virtually. If you are a consumer-focused event person, then you best choose influencers in the brackets that are working and try those formats out. The formats are cheap, the influencers are not expensive. Like Rodolfo says, what you could get for $100, you're getting in $1 today. So why not experiment a bunch of those and see what fits you?
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. That was pretty comprehensive. Wonderful answer to a very short question. Thank you. And I think what we'll do now is I will take the pleasure of, on behalf of the Global Customer Engagement Forum, which is CEF and AGNL and 24 Frames Digital, I want to thank you, all our viewers and attendees, for attending this global webinar on COVID-19 and after, which is the customer engagement strategies that we were talking about. I also like to thank our wonderful panelists for your invaluable time, your patience, and all the insights that you brought. A very warm thank you to Arup Basu from the UAE, Dr. Mir Damoon Mir from Iran, Nandana Vikramage from Sri Lanka, Rodolfo Barreto, sorry I mispronounced your name once, Rodolfo Barreto from Brazil, Sujan Roy from India, and again from India, the wonderful young veteran Swaroop Banerjee. Thank you all ever so much, everybody. I am your host and friend Pawan Chawla. I work for AdFactors PR. We're also available in Singapore and in Sri Lanka, and we're always here for you. I promise you that everything that we've received as questions that were not answered will surely be gotten back to. We will reply to you. Revert is the wrong word. Everybody uses it in the wrong place. We will reply to you with the answers. And I thank you once again, everybody, for attending. Stay safe. And for those who are celebrating, and for everybody worldwide, Eid Mubarak, Ramadan Mubarak. Take care.